Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It's your guy Boulanger, and in this video, we're going to be dealing with the idea or topic that no NFL team should make a play for Lamar Jackson until after the 2023 draft. Again, no NFL team should make a play for Lamar Jackson until after the NFL draft. Let's go. So this idea, it's pretty practical and pretty simple, but it's something I've really been kind of thinking about as I look at the Baltimore Ravens situation. And that situation is just the fact that we do not have a franchise quarterback signed. We have a franchise quarterback. He's just not signed with us. And so not signing is just like not having one, to me. But when you really think about it, I certainly think that the Baltimore Ravens thought that placing the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, allowing him to go test the market, would allow a market to be set and cause him to see that the offer they offered him was a reasonable deal. Excuse me. Now, I'm not here to debate what they offered, how much it was, what was guaranteed, because number one, I don't know, and you guys don't know. We can only base our perspectives on speculation that we've heard through sports media. Okay. But what I do understand is that the Baltimore Ravens are 3 weeks away from the NFL draft and they do not have a quarterback. Okay. And what I also know is that if I'm a GM, now let me be clear. I know I've seen a couple of comments calling me the GM, but just so we understand, I'm not calling myself the GM. The name of my channel is the GM, and that name just comes from that continual internal conversation I have with myself about my sports teams and players I would like to see join my team, players I would like to trade, moves and deals that I've internally thought about. So that's where the idea of GM comes from. Not that I am a GM, and I know sometimes you guys can kind of see my logic and my takes come out verbally, and that's really what I wanted to do. I want to take that internal conversation and make it public. Now that I got that out of the way, back to the conversation at hand. And so if I'm thinking like an NFL GM, I'm thinking like one of the other 31 uh, teams. I certainly would come out and say I'm not interested, whether I'm genuine or I'm lying about it. Now, the facts and figures of how many teams should be interested are probably going to be 10 to 12 teams. Some teams have franchise quarterbacks. And then those that don't have a franchise quarterback, four of them are going to pick one of the top four quarterbacks this year and presumably have a franchise quarterback. Okay. And then some teams are just in that gap year where they're trying out a guy in order to get to the next draft because of their current draft needs. And so I think 10 or 12 would be teams that should be interested. And I think of that 10 or 12, I cut that in half also, and I make it about 5 teams who are uh, championship ready teams based on the roster construction. And a championship team should only be um, the team that is pursuing Lamar Jackson. Because a team that's not ready to win now, it would take them a year or two to get up to speed. Could they make the playoffs in Lamar Jackson's first couple of years? Yes. But if they don't have the other roster pieces to be in championship contention, then you would waste 2 years of a high salary and you would waste 2 years of Lamar Jackson's prime. So if you're not a championship ready to win team, then it does make sense to stay away. So I think it's only about 5 teams. I'll discuss those teams in another video. So those 5 teams, why would they come out and be public about pursuing Lamar Jackson? See, because what happens with that is they get into a bidding war amongst themselves, right? Who's gonna offer what? Who's gonna offer what contract? What's the draft compensation, in order to acquire Lamar Jackson, that kind of thing. So why would I do that? Why would I make it public that I'm interested in Lamar? You see, and so that feeds into the news cycle that nobody's interested. Well, if I'm a GM, I'm keeping it close to the vest as well. But when we go a step further, and the reason why I say no team should trade or make a play for Lamar, not necessarily trade for him, make a play for Lamar until after the draft, is because the draft compensation is already set. You see, when I talked about a traditional trade scenario, I was specifically talking about the Baltimore Ravens becoming more aggressive and turning the situation into a traditional trade scenario so that they could go ahead and and get something going in this 2023 offseason. So if they're going to move off Lamar, excuse me. So if they were going to move off Lamar anyway, then let's go ahead and do it in a traditional trade sense, which you can get it done and just move on. Okay. But since that has not happened, if I'm another GM, I'm not making one, I'm not making any noise publicly. And two, I'm not making a play for Lamar until after this year's draft is over. Why? Because in a offer sheet, which is why I said in the previous video that the non-exclusive tag was the wrong decision, in an offer sheet scenario, right? I win, meaning the other 31 teams would win. And I'm going to tell you why. You see, traditional trade, the Baltimore Ravens have the opportunity to add other included picks, right? So the first round picks are going to be, what you're really wanting, but other included picks come into second round, third round, fifth round, things of that nature, right? But in an offer sheet scenario, post 2023 draft, the other 31 teams would be in a winning situation. Here's why. Okay. So if the draft is over, I've already used my entire draft this year. First round picks, second round picks, third round picks, whatever I needed to do. I could do this knowing what I currently need, but also knowing that, hey, when this thing is over, I'm going after Lamar Jackson. You see, teams will go into the draft knowing what they're going to do. All right. That's why I say the Baltimore Ravens have to have some kind of idea what they're going to do. All right. And so the other teams that are going to be in pursuit of Lamar Jackson post the draft, they're going to come out to be the winners because the draft compensation is set. There's no other included picks. There's no included players. None of that. It's 2 first, and that's it. That's why I would wait till this year's draft was over, simply because if I got this year's draft class and all I have to give up is a 2024 and a 2025 pick to get Lamar, what I understand is, now remember this, these are ready to win teams. What I understand is that guy's going to move me closer to NFC, AFC championships and closer to a Super Bowl if all things work out and everybody's healthy, that kind of thing. That means the first round picks I give up are going to be number 25 or later in that first round. So I'm only giving up 2 late first round draft picks versus this year's draft. If I got the number 15 pick or a top 10 pick, that's what I'd be sacrificing if I made a move before the draft. So why would I do that? If I'm a GM and I'm smart and I'm trying to build my roster and I'm trying to get this guy who can put us over the hump, why would I do anything until the draft was over? You see, this is why 2 videos ago I said the Baltimore Ravens have put themselves in a corner and it kind of makes them desperate. You see, because they never saw, I don't think that they saw it coming down to 3 weeks before the draft. And one, there would be no deal done. 2, Lamar would have requested a trade. 3, that he made that trade request public. And 4, there's no offer sheet. Unless what I said originally is true, that there is a league-wide declaration that you do not pursue another team's franchise quarterback unless they made it known that they're moving on from him. And so that's why if I'm a team, I'm not making a play for Lamar. I'm going to sit still and quiet. And now let me give you a few signals. Let me give you a few team signals that may say they're going to come after Lamar when the draft's over. Okay. Now this is all to say that there's not a deal already done. We're just waiting on draft night, which is what my 2 videos ago, which is what my take was. Okay. But this is just to say if that take is not validated by a draft night trade, Here's some draft night behavior that would say this team is coming to get Lamar. So take, for example, the Indianapolis Colts, who have been consistently, let's say, rumored, not linked, just rumored to have some interest, right? They have not come out and said publicly that they're out. They have the number fourth overall pick, which means they are in position to take one of those top four quarterbacks. I certainly believe that somebody will jump up to number three to Arizona's spot to try to get that pick. I don't think Indianapolis moves up, but I do think that if Indianapolis stays put at number four and they don't take a quarterback there, they're coming after Lamar Jackson. If Indianapolis trades back from number four, they're coming out after Lamar Jackson. So I think those are two signals from the Indianapolis Colts that says Lamar Jackson is in play. Okay. Another team that you may see some signaling from is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta's not going to get a quarterback at number 9. So if Atlanta moves back in this draft, that may be a signal that they're gonna come and get Lamar Jackson. Why? Because they would need to load up on picks this year, because to come and pursue Lamar after the draft would be giving up 2024 and 2025. So you need to build your team more this year than you would in those other 2 years. That would also be a signal. A signal that the Minnesota Vikings may come after Lamar is if they move back in the first round again in order to build their team this year, sacrificing 2024 and 2025 first round picks. Because like I said, those picks are going to be in the bottom half of the draft. And so what you would need to do this year is go ahead and build up the wide receiving corps, solidify some offensive line positions, maybe add a few depth pieces on defense. You see, because when you get that guy, you won't have a first round pick for 2 years, but you would have already done your work in the 2023 draft with an understanding that you're going to get Lamar, and so you'll be sacrificing 2 picks. So I think those are some behaviors from some teams that have been rumored, but not necessarily linked. Okay. And so I think that those are 3 teams that draft night behavior could signal that they're going to come and pursue Lamar Jackson. And I think it's reasonable that Minnesota, Indianapolis, and the Falcons, I think it's reasonable that they do trade back. See, because they're trading back, they're getting more picks, and they're not going after a quarterback in that first round, number 1. And number 2, if they trade back, they have an opportunity to build more on the current roster. And so I think those could be some behaviors that signal, hey, we may be in play for Lamar Jackson. All right. Not saying that they will be. I'm just saying that that's some behavior. So listen, that's my take, man. That the no team should come out to Lamar until the end 2023 draft is over. And those are my reasons. Let me know what you guys want me to know, man, what you think, what you feel about this. Please hit like, subscribe, hit the share button. I'm your guy, Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.